Yo, picture this, South Africa way back. We're talking about a time when the land was untouched, wild, and teeming with life. The vast savannas stretched as far as the eye could see, and the ancient rock formations held secrets of the past. We're talking thousands of years. Long before any modern civilization, this land was home to some of the earliest humans. The Sand People, the original crew, were painting caves with stories, hunting and gathering. They were the first artists, storytellers, and survivalists living in harmony with the land. Think of them as the OG hipsters, living sustainably before it was cool. Their way of life was simple yet profound, deeply connected to nature. Then came the Khoikhoi, pastoral herders who rocked up with their cattle. They brought a new way of life, one that revolved around their livestock. They were all about that nomadic life, moving with the seasons. Their movements were dictated by the needs of their herds, always in search of greener pastures. Imagine trying to get a decent Wi-Fi signal with that lifestyle. Tough crowd, but they thrived, adapting to the land and its challenges. These indigenous groups, they were the heart and soul of the land. Their traditions, knowledge, and way of life were passed down through generations. They lived in harmony with nature, respecting the delicate balance. Their existence was a testament to the symbiotic relationship between humans and the environment. Fast forward a bit, and the Bantu-speaking people arrived, bringing iron and agriculture. Talk about an upgrade. They introduced new technologies and farming techniques. They spread across the region, forming their own unique cultures and kingdoms. Their influence was profound, shaping the social and cultural landscape of the area. It was like a massive cultural exchange program, except without the awkward icebreakers and terrible group projects. Different groups interacted, traded, and learned from each other. This, my friends, is where the vibrant tapestry of South African culture began. A rich mosaic of traditions, languages, and histories that continue to thrive today. Okay, so picture this. It's the 15th century, and European explorers are like, hey, let's go find a new route to India. They were driven by the promise of spices, silk, and other exotic goods that were highly prized back in Europe. The overland routes were long, dangerous, and controlled by various middlemen who made the goods incredibly expensive by the time they reached European markets. Because, sailing around the entire continent of Africa was getting a little old. The journey was perilous, with treacherous waters and unpredictable weather. Not to mention, it took forever. So, these explorers were on the lookout for a quicker, more direct route to the riches of the East. So, they bump into South Africa. Surprise! This wasn't India, but it was a significant discovery nonetheless. The southern tip of Africa, with its strategic location, offered a perfect spot for resupplying ships and resting weary sailors. The Portuguese were the first to arrive, led by the adventurous, or maybe just lost, Bartolomeu Dias. In 1488, Dias rounded the Cape of Good Hope, proving that it was possible to sail around the southern tip of Africa and opening the way for future expeditions. They saw this beautiful land and thought, perfect spot for a pit stop. The lush landscape and abundant resources made it an ideal location for rest and resupply. They could gather fresh water, hunt for food, and repair their ships before continuing their journey. They weren't exactly the best house guests, though. The arrival of Europeans disrupted the lives of the indigenous people, leading to conflicts and misunderstandings. The explorers often took what they needed without much regard for the local inhabitants. Then came the Dutch, in the 17th century. They were more interested in establishing a permanent presence. The Dutch East India Company saw the potential of the Cape as a strategic halfway point between Europe and their colonies in the East Indies. They set up shop in Cape Town, figuring, hey, if we're going to be stopping here all the time, we might as well make it comfy. They built forts, houses, and gardens, transforming the area into a bustling settlement. And by comfy, I mean they started colonizing the place. The Dutch settlers began farming the land, establishing trade, and integrating the Cape into their global trading network. Word got around, and soon, everyone from Germany to France was sending people over. The Cape became a melting pot of different European cultures, each bringing their own customs, traditions, and ambitions. It became the ultimate melting pot, except not in the fun, let's share recipes kind of way. The mix of cultures often led to tensions and conflicts as different groups vied for control and influence in this new and promising land. The Dutch East India Company, also known as the OG Corporation, was calling the shots. Founded in 1602, it was one of the world's first multinational corporations and had a monopoly on the spice trade. They set up shop in South Africa, establishing a refreshment station at the Cape of Good Hope to supply their ships en route to the East Indies. They were all about that profit, exploiting resources and people like it was going out of style. The Dutch didn't just trade, they took control, establishing settlements and exploiting the local population for labor. Their focus was on maximizing profits, often at the expense of human rights and dignity. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a good look. The impact of their actions left deep scars on the land and its people, creating a legacy of exploitation and inequality that would last for generations. The British, never ones to miss a business opportunity, especially someone else's, swooped in during the Napoleonic Wars. They saw the strategic and economic value of the Cape Colony, and decided it was too good to pass up. They were all, "Thanks for keeping this warm for us, chaps." And just like that, South Africa had new landlords. The British took over, bringing their own brand of colonial rule, which often clashed with the existing Dutch settlers' way of life. Naturally, the Dutch settlers weren't too thrilled about this. They had established their lives and communities, and now they had to deal with a new set of rulers with different laws and customs. Imagine someone eating your takeout that you waited an hour for. The frustration and resentment were palpable, as the Dutch settlers felt their way of life was being threatened. Yeah, that level of anger. The tension between the Dutch settlers and the British authorities grew, leading to conflicts and a sense of injustice among the Dutch community. This clash led to the Great Trek, where the Boers, Dutch settlers, packed their ox wagons and headed inland. Seeking to escape British rule, they embarked on a perilous journey to find new lands where they could live independently. It was like a historical version of a cross-country road trip, only with more dysentery and less Spotify. The Great Trek was a defining moment in South African history, symbolizing the struggle for autonomy and the harsh realities of colonial expansion. Section 4, Apartheid, not that kind of separation anxiety. Fast forward to the 20th century, and things got really real really fast. After some back and forth, South Africa became an independent nation, but here's the catch. It was ruled by a minority white government, and they weren't exactly known for their inclusivity. Enter apartheid, a system of racial segregation and discrimination that was so messed up it makes your head spin. Imagine a world where your skin color dictated where you could live, work, and even go to the bathroom. Yeah, it was that bad. Black South Africans were treated like second-class citizens in their own country. It was like being stuck in a never-ending episode of Black Mirror, except it was real life, and there was no remote to turn it off. Section 5, Mandela, the OG of freedom fighters. Now, in the face of this injustice, a true hero emerged, Nelson Mandela. This guy was the epitome of resilience. He spent 27 years in prison for fighting for equality, but his spirit never wavered. Talk about commitment. Mandela knew that violence wasn't the answer. He believed in dialogue, in forgiveness, in Ubuntu, the very essence of humanity. He understood that to heal a nation divided, you needed to build bridges, not walls. His unwavering dedication to justice, along with the tireless efforts of countless activists and ordinary citizens, ultimately brought an end to apartheid. It was a victory for the ages, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of times. Section 6, Post-Apartheid, picking up the pieces. So, apartheid was over, confetti rained down, not really, but it should have, and South Africa had a new challenge rebuilding. Imagine trying to put together a puzzle after a toddler got hold of it. That's what it was like. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was formed, a bold attempt to heal the wounds of the past. Perpetrators could confess their crimes, victims could share their stories, and slowly, painstakingly, the country began to heal. It wasn't easy, and the scars of apartheid still linger. Poverty, inequality, and corruption are issues that South Africa continues to grapple with. But through it all, the spirit of Ubuntu prevails. Section 7, South Africa today, still working on it. Today, South Africa is a vibrant democracy with one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. It's a melting pot of cultures, languages, and experiences, a place where ancient traditions meet modern aspirations. It's a country that has been through a lot, but it never gives up. It's like that friend who always bounces back no matter what life throws their way. Sure, it has its problems, but it faces them head-on with resilience and a touch of humor. South Africa's journey is a testament to the power of hope, the importance of forgiveness, and the enduring belief in a better tomorrow. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit can triumph, and that's something worth celebrating.